Hello and welcome to today's webinar of Railbookers. My name's Gareth Jones. I'm the Senior Product Manager of Railbookers, and I'm going to be talking today about the Scottish Highlands and Islands with Railbookers. First of all, let's talk about who Railbookers are, what we do. Of course, kind of suggestions in the name of Railbookers. We book rail, but it's a lot more than that. Rail experts, of course, we know rail from best routes to the best times, ensuring that you have the best holiday. We can book holiday packages from now to 2 years in advance. So at the moment, we can even book until March already, blimey. March 2024. You can depart today on your bucket list trip up to 2024. Either way, we have you covered. So from travelling in 2 days' time, for example, to travelling in 2 years' time. Maximum flexibility, any destination, any date, for any length of time. Simply put, if the train goes there, so do we, including Scotland, the Highlands and the Isles. We have over 4,000 different rail itineraries around the world. If we don't feature the destinations that you're looking to travel to, just let us know and we can certainly put them together. Again, these holiday packages are flexible as well, so you can change the amount of nights, change the activities in each destination. As mentioned, the largest rail holiday selection as well, from luxurious multi-country journeys to extending your cruise or creating a tailor-made rail itinerary. We have it all. And no rail trip is too complicated for us. What is confusing to most is simple for us. The website is obviously the best resource for all those 4,000 different itineraries as mentioned, but if you do prefer a brochure, then we have a great selection of digital brochures which are easily downloaded. The UK and Ireland by rail has been very popular, of course, over the past couple of years due to COVID restrictions, but we also have the great worldwide independent rail holidays. Scotland specifically, as we're going to be looking at today, luxury rail journeys. The Venice Simplon Orient Express, for example, or the Royal Scotsman, which we may be looking at shortly. And cruise extensions. If you are taking a river cruise or an ocean cruise somewhere, why not take the train there and take the train back from your port of call? Now, no matter where you are in the world with Railbookers, there's 24-hour support from our global offices. You'll have an emergency contact number, so no matter where you are, you can call the number and get through to a member of the team. London, of course, 2 offices on either coast of the US, Toronto in Canada, and even down in Sydney, Australia. So no matter what the time is, no matter where you are, we're on hand to help. And this is how we make rail travel easy. We have direct rail partnerships with all the major rail operators around the world, be the national rail operators such as Trenitalia, Deutsche Bahn, Amtrak, of course, or SBB in Switzerland, but also those luxury private rail operators, Belmont, for example, who run the Venice Simplon Orient Express, Journey Beyond, the Australian rail operator also. What do I mean by direct rail partnerships? Well, we have direct access to their booking systems, we have access to better fares that are made available to the public, and we have access to seats before they're made available to the public as well. Anyway, that's about us. Let's have a look at some of these great holiday packages, shall we? First up, the most popular one, the Grand Inverness and the Highlands via the Caledonian sleeper. So 6 days in total, 5 nights away, starting just under £650 per person. Now the price, all package price is based on 2 people sharing, train travel, hotel accommodation, including breakfast and sightseeing experiences. So here we've got a journey on the Caledonian sleeper all the way up to Inverness. 4 nights accommodation in Inverness and a small group tour of Loch Ness and Glen Urquhart Castle, and a small group tour out to the Isle of Skye and Island DONAN Castle as well. What do I mean by a small group tour? Well, maximum of 16 people, a very comfortable minibus led by a very knowledgeable guide, full day, plenty of time left for lunch and kind of exploring as well. 4 nights accommodation in Inverness also, and then the train back to London. Obviously, if you're not travelling from London, don't worry. Again, the flexibility that I mentioned in our holiday packages, we can get you back to your local station, no problem at all. So, the Caledonian Sleeper, the most famous sleeper train in the UK. Now, so there's only 2 overnight trains or regular overnight trains, shall we say, in the UK, Caledonian Sleeper, and then the Cornish Riviera, that goes down to Cornwall. But the Caledonian Sleeper, it's a new train, well, new up until I think it was 2019 or 2020, when the cabin, the whole train was kind of refurbished, and etc. And it really is a wonderful journey. This is the classic cabin setup, so the Caledonian Sleeper classic cabin. It's bunk beds, as you see. So there's a small ladder going up to the top bunk. Not en suite, but again, plenty of storage for luggage, etc. Very, very comfortable, fresh linen, fresh pillows, fresh blankets, of course. There's a couple of different cabin options on board as well, so you can upgrade to a Caledonia Club. Caledonia double club cabin, forgive me. You see there, a double bed with ensuite facilities as well. The breakfast service is fantastic on board. It really is a great breakfast service. The train leaves London Euston around about 11:30, I think it is, at night. So it is a late departure. So have dinner before you board, but then it's wonderful waking up in the morning. It arrives into Inverness, Edinburgh, forgive me, around about 7 o'clock in the morning. So if you're getting around that time, you get some lovely coastal views crossing the border, coming into Inverness. Great sort of smoked salmon, traditional breakfast on board as well. The train doesn't leave on Saturdays, however, but the rest of the year, rest of the week, it certainly runs. In Inverness, great hotel Inverness. It's the King's Mill. It's a 4-star hotel right in the middle of the city as well. Great service, as you can see. Wonderfully big rooms as well. And the beautiful Isle of Skye, as mentioned, that small group tour going out to the Isle of Skye. It's great having a guide for you with these tours as well, just to give you the kind of background story of everything you're looking at and the actual destination itself. Next, we've got Edinburgh, the Isle of Skye, and the West Highland Line. Now, the West Highland Line, perhaps one of the most famous rail lines in the UK. And here it's a little longer as well. 2 nights in Edinburgh. Is where it ends. It starts with 2 nights in Fort William. Again, you can take care of your local travel from your local station up to Fort William. You could even take the Caledonian Sleeper from London up to Fort William. But of course, it depends whereabouts in the UK you're travelling from. 2 nights in Fort William, and from Fort William, we've got a day trip on the West Highland Line on the Jacobite train. Then it's up to the Isle of Skye for 3 nights, actually, on the Isle of Skye itself. Full guided full day tour of the Isle of Skye itself, before heading back over to Inverness for 2 nights, and then back down to Edinburgh for 2 nights at the end. 10 days in total, so 9 nights in total, £1,599 per person, so from price. And here's the Glenfinnan Viaduct, as mentioned, perhaps the most recognisable rail line in the UK, perhaps famous for the Harry Potter train, as it's kind of recently been recognised as, but the famous Jacobite train. And this is what first class looks like on board, very much like a sort of British Pullman style. You can order a small lunch on board, just sandwiches and tea, which is quite a nice service as well. But amazing views, a great experience on board as well, particularly being pulled by the steam locomotive. And then 3 nights actually on the Isle of Skye itself, staying at the SKEABOST Hotel, as you see, wonderfully traditional Scottish-style hotel. Next, it's the other, it's to the furthest, the more northern isles, the Orkneys. The Orkneys. So here we're starting in London, and again, it's the Caledonia Sleeper up to Inverness. 3 nights in Inverness, the capital of the Highlands, then up to Orkneys for 2 nights as well. A small group tour up to the Orkneys, 2 nights there. From Inverness, also we've got the day trip over to the Isle of Skye again, down to Edinburgh for 2 nights before returning to London. In Edinburgh as well, we've got a small group walking tour of the Old Town, so you really get to kind of learn the secrets of the Old Town, the Royal Mile, of course. Here's the famous DONAN Castle. On the way up to the Orkneys, stop off at the beautiful DUNROBIN Castle. And then on the Orkneys, of course, famous standing stones at STENNESS Mysterious and SKARA BRAE. Actually older than Stonehenge, SKARA BRAE, of course, the kind of Preolithic small village. Fascinating history. And next, Scottish Highlands and the Outer Hebrides. Again, taking the Caledonia sleeper up to Inverness. 3 nights in total in Inverness, including the day trip to the Isle of Skye again, before heading out to the Outer Hebrides, including the ferry journey between Ullapool and Stornoway. 2 nights on the Outer Hebrides itself, before taking a transfer back to Inverness by road, down to Edinburgh for 2 nights again, before returning to London. Just under £1,400 per person, 8 nights, 9 days in total. And Inverness, a huge amount of history, as mentioned. It's recognised being the capital of the Highlands itself. Beautiful by the river, and a really fascinating castle, relatively central in town as well. Now on the Outer Hebrides, the famous Cairngorms stones. And the famous Butt of Lewis as well. Actually, the place in the UK that's recorded the fastest wind speed in the history of the UK as well. I think it's during the recent storms. And of course, Harris as well. It's amazing, I think, this landscape in Britain, because if it didn't rain so much or the weather was bad, up there with beaches from the Caribbean, for example, the pristine beaches, the beautiful blue seas as well. But it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world, and I think a lot of us have only just sort of recognised how beautiful it is during the COVID lockdown time. Now, in Edinburgh, I mentioned we do have the small group walking tour of the Old Town, discovering the secrets of the Old Town there as well. You can also get a tour of Edinburgh Castle as well, just to understand the rich, rich history of the castle. There's also, on the Royal Miles, the Scotch whisky experience, got the biggest collection of Scotch whisky in the world. Here you can go in there and kind of learn the secrets of Scotch whisky, have a tasting. And as mentioned at the beginning, of course, we can't talk about Scotland and trains without talking about the famous Royal Scotsman journey. And here, it's the Royal Scotsman Highland journey. Now, the Royal Scotsman has a number of itineraries, ranging from the Highland journey here, which is 2 nights on board the train, to 7 nights on board the train, for example. 2 nights on board the train here. We've got to start in Edinburgh with 1 night, 2 nights on board the train, and then end in Edinburgh for 1 night at the end also. Starting price just under £4,700 per person. The Royal Scotsman, it is a luxury train. It's everything on board is included, from the food, the off-board experiences, drinks in the bar as well. Very, very special train. And you get some amazing kind of experiences here as well. It's the Cairngorms National Park, Aviemore. You get off and you have a choice of outdoor pursuits, sort of clay pigeon shooting, if you will, fly fishing, or just a tour of Aviemore itself. If you'd rather stay on board, you can certainly do that also. There's a private tour of Culloden Battlefield also. Now here, every departure is welcomed on with the kind of regal sounds of the Scottish Highlanders. And this is the sort of dining experience on board as well. The capacity of the train is just 40 people in total, so very, very limited capacity. A very unique experience, a very community. It's a great community. You get to meet like-minded people on board. Traditional food, an amazing culinary experience. It's amazing what the chefs can create in the small kitchen on board as well. And double beds also. Double beds. And you see there's no bunk beds at all. Every cabin is en suite. You have a double cabin where it's a double bed. A single cabin travelling independently. I think this is a better image. It's the twin cabins where you have separate beds. Gives you an idea of the scale and the size of the cabins. Loads of space, plenty of room to kind of sit, enjoy the views out the window. But again, it's a real kind of sociable experience on board with the other guests as well. And here's the lounge car also. Just behind us is the bar car. As I said, all drinks are included in the cost also. The train actually stops at night as well, so you're not travelling at night. You get a great night's sleep on board. And as mentioned, if you didn't want to take part in any of the off-board experiences at all, there's an on-board spa as well. Treatments are paid on board. If golfing's your thing, then you can certainly we can pre-book a trip to a golf course as well, which is all included. Thanks very much for your time. I hope that's helped and whetted the appetite a little. If you'd like any more information, please don't hesitate and give us a call. 0203 780 2222. Thanks very much and take care now. Bye-bye.